makers, it's Charlotte with Makesy. Today I'm going to teach you how to make your own citronella candles. So first let's walk through the materials that you need to create your own candles. You'll want to buy these supplies in advance to make the candle making process as smooth and stress-free as possible. Today I'm using our Prim paint can vessel, which is 7.5 ounces. I love that this vessel is made from tin, so I don't have to worry about it getting too hot, and also it just looks really cute for an outdoor candle container design. You can also use ceramic, glass, concrete, or stone when making candles. Just make sure not to choose any container that could be flammable. Another popular option for outdoor candles are wide ones, large centerpieces. That's been really trendy in the last few years, and I could just see a gorgeous citronella candle being made with a very large bowl style candle container. Today we're making this one candle, but if you want to make more candles or larger candles, you can follow what you learned here today on this video to replicate this process. So besides the container, we need things to put in the container. We need wax. So I have a wax melter here, but I'll walk you through what to do if you don't have a wax melter. And inside the wax melter, I have our virgin coconut soy wax liquefied. And this wax is a beautiful white creamy blend of coconut and soy waxes, and it just burns super beautifully and smooth. It makes nice even melt pools, and it has great fragrance throw. This is like my go-to wax when I'm making any candles. You don't need any special kind of wax for outdoor candles. You can use the same type of wax that you use when you're making regular candles as well. And then the star of the show here, and what makes this candle a bug repellent candle, is our citronella. So I'm using a blend today called Natural Citronella and Camphor. And this blend is a little bit more sophisticated, in my opinion, than a traditional citronella. Another cool thing about this blend that I'm using today is it's all natural, and it contains only ingredients on the EPA's 23B list. That is a list of ingredients that the EPA has deemed as safe insect repellents. This fragrance not only smells great, but it's functional. So when I burn this candle, if you live in an area that has a lot of bugs outside or mosquitoes, this is great to put on an outdoor dining table. Last but not least, I have my wicks and a wick clip and wick sticker. And this is a wood wick, so it's going to crackle while it burns and create a really beautiful, almost fireplace-like ambiance, which again, I just love. For outdoor candles, I think wood wicks are such a perfect fit. And then my other tools, I have a scale here. This is so I can measure out how much wax I need. And I have a pouring pitcher, and this is what I'm gonna use to actually pour my wax into the candle. If you don't have a wax melter, that is okay, but you will need some type of pouring pitcher that you can use to put your melted candle wax in. So the first thing that you do when you're making a candle is you're going to wick your candle. And when I say wick my candle, I simply mean I'm gonna take my wick and clip assembly, and I'm gonna get it in the center bottom of my vessel so that it's ready to pour the wax. So with this candle specifically, I am using our Ultimate Wick. This is a wood wick that is super consistent in performance. It's really easy to use because it's rigid and it stands up straight inside the candle. Whereas if I was using a cotton wick, I would need to use a wick bar to hold it in place. But with a wood wick, you don't need to mess with that because it already stands up straight. So I'm just gonna take the wick sticker and put it on the center bottom of my clip. I'm going to peel away the second side of adhesive, and I'm gonna do my best to eyeball it and get the wick and clip in the center bottom of the vessel. Gotta focus for that part. So my candle is wicked now, and I'm ready to measure out my wax and fragrance. And I'm using a 1/2 inch wide wood wick in this container. And basically the logic with candle wicks in general, wood wicks and cotton wicks, is the bigger the wick, the bigger the melt pool it's going to create and the bigger flame it's going to create. So it's important to do testing to determine which wick size is going to work with what fragrance and wax and in what container. You can use our wick guide on Makesy.com. We have charts, we have quizzes, we have all sorts of tools to help you find the right wick for your candle so that the testing process is as easy as possible. Or you can just copy exactly what I'm making today, and you can use this exact vessel, wax, and fragrance and bypass some of the testing needed. So I'm gonna set this aside and I'm ready to measure out my wax. So the first thing I'm gonna do is put my pitcher on my scale. I'm gonna turn on my scale and make sure that it's tared out. So tearing out the scale basically just means that you are eliminating the weight of the pitcher. So now that that's ready to go, I'm gonna fill up my pitcher just under 7 ounces of liquid candle wax. Today I'm using almost a 9% fragrance load. It's an 8.8% fragrance load. How you determine your fragrance load when you're making candles is you basically take 7.5 ounces, that's a total wax fill of this container, and then determine what fragrance load you want to use. That means how much fragrance you should use. Most candle makers use between 6 to 12%, low end to high end, with majority of people using 8 to 10% fragrance load. And then you're gonna take that fragrance load number and you're gonna multiply that percentage times your total wax capacity. So in this case, I'm using 7.5 ounces total wax capacity in this container. So 10% of that would be 0.75 ounces of fragrance. I'm using a little bit less today because I'm using 2 10 mLs. So again, about an 8.8% fragrance load. And then you can just subtract that number from the wax capacity to determine how much candle wax you need. So let's open these up. I did a pretty good job here at getting to the amount of wax I needed, but that doesn't always happen. Sometimes it takes some back and forth. And if you don't have a wax melter, that's okay. You don't have to have a wax melter to make candles, although it certainly makes things a lot faster. So if you don't have a wax melter, you're going to use what's called the double boiler method. And if you've ever made chocolate before, it's very similar to that. You're basically going to put your solid candle wax into a pitcher and you're gonna put it in a water bath of simmering water. I like to do about 2, maybe 3 inches high of water. And again, simmering, it doesn't need to be boiling. That's gonna slowly and evenly liquefy your candle wax, and then you'll be able to make candles without using a wax melter. Once you've added in your fragrance, you're going to mix the fragrance and wax together for at least 2 minutes. I like to do 2 to 3 minutes. And the purpose in stirring for that period of time is to help the fragrance and wax fully bind together. That way you don't end up with a candle that smells super strong on the bottom or doesn't smell like anything on top, or vice versa. So we want that fragrance evenly distributed throughout the wax, and stirring them together for that period of time helps to ensure that they're fully combined. Okay, now that we have stirred our candle wax, we're ready to pour. This is my favorite part and it smells so good in here right now. So let's go ahead and pour our candle. Perfect. Now we have poured our candle and all that's left to do is let it cool. So once you make your candles, it's best to let them sit on an even surface undisturbed for 24 hours. This candle will probably cool in a few hours because it's pretty small, but best to let it sit for 24 hours to let that cooling process fully take place. Once the candle's cooled, let's come back and you can trim the wick. You can either use a pair of wick trimmers if you have them, or you can just use a pair of scissors. Either one of them will work. And just hold the surface of your wick and trim so that you don't disturb the top of your wax while you're trimming your wick. That is how you make a citronella candle. Let's check back in 24 hours and take a look at our finished creation. And now we're back to check out this candle after 24 hours and look at how great it looks. I'm so happy with the results. The top is smooth and bright white. The wax looks perfect. Oh my gosh, and it smells amazing. I wish you guys could smell this candle. The citronella and camphor is more sophisticated smelling than a regular citronella, so I highly recommend checking out our natural citronella and camphor fragrance oil. But if not, you can also use essential oils. You can use citronella essential oil as a great option. Lemongrass is another good alternative that helps repel insects. Lavender can do the job as well, but I definitely find that citronella-based fragrances work the best, at least in my area. So I hope you guys enjoyed learning how to make a citronella candle today. If you make outdoor candles or you've ever tried making a citronella candle before, I'd love to hear about your experience in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, and be sure to subscribe to our channel to stay in the know on all the latest makers tips and tricks. Now go make it happen.